One more habit. Your net worth world is usually determined by what you remit after your bad habits are subtracted from your good ones. Benjamin Franklin. Show me your habits, and I'll show you your life. I can predict with a high degree of accuracy the results you are going to achieve based on your habits because the outcomes in your life are directly related to your habits. I can predict with your high degree of accuracy the results that you are going to achieve based on your habits because the outcomes in your life are directly related to your habits. Your brain understands the importance of habits because it's an incredibly efficient organ. The brain's DNA is hardwired to protect you by conserving mental energy whenever it can. Saving energy means that reserves can be applied to your parts of your life where more brain power is needed. What does that have to do with the habits? Your brain is constantly trying to save energy. This is an important point to understand because it directly relates to how to build and the changing habits and why you even have habits in the first place. Habits are direct results of your brain subconsciously taking actions in a way to ensure that you will use less energy to get a desired outcome. With the habits, your brain already knows what you need to do and it switches to an autopilot mode, much like in setting a car on cruise control to create a maximum fuel efficiency. Think of how many times you're awakened in the morning and gone through your routine of grooming, getting dressed, and eating breakfast. If you have a set of a schedule, there's a good chance that most days you're sleepwalked through all these tasks before fully realizing you're awake and ready to start your day. That jolt. The first moment of a morning clarity, and it rarely strikes when you first wake up. You got to the point in the day because your habits carry you through. Here's the kicker. Several studies have shown that most of actions you take are habits. Some people drink 2 cups of coffee by 8 a.m. without fail. Other people eat lunch at precisely the same time every day. Golfers have an exactly routine when they swing a club, and the people who go to the gym often do so on the same days of the week and do the same workouts every time. Sometimes these habits are even more specific and more routine, and we are even less aware of them. For example, most people either brush their teeth first or jump into shower first and start their day. It never varies. How about you? Which do you do first, and how often do you think about it? Let's take it a step further. We'll talk about the triggers further down in this chapter, but for now, when you step into the shower, the water is a trigger that starts a habit of what you do in the shower. Do you start by shampooing your head? Do you grab a bar of soap and lather your face and then the rest of your body? Do you routinely stand and just let the water run on the back for the minute while you're relaxing and starting to plan your day? Oh, but there is a grooming sequence you go through every day and you don't think about, do you? That's a prime example of how habits work. When you get in your car to begin your work commute, turning the car on is the trigger that starts a habit of how you would drive to work. You may adjust your mirrors, buckle your seatbelt, turn on your car or the radio, plug in your favorite podcast and check your fuel level before putting your car into drive and pulling away from your home. Your brain goes into habit mode because you're already driven to work so many times that your brain knows what to do with a lot less active thinking on the part. That single trigger of starting your car initiates a habit that lasts for the duration of your commute to work, saving you a lot of brain energy in the process. Countless types of activities are habits. You don't think about them, you just do them. And many times those habits work out just fine for you. But not always. Sometimes you develop bad habits and they don't end up serving you well. When that happens, if you want to change your life for the better, pay close attention to your habits and then make changes that align with what you want out of life. Be intentional about your habits. Under pressure, you'll always move into habitual mode in your brain. Habits are reflexive. For example, if you want to maintain a high level of fitness, but you are in the habit of only going to the gym twice a week, and you sneak a lot of junk food into your diet, you are not going to achieve that goal. If you want a cozy and a happy family life, neat and happy family life, okay? Do you schedule a date night once a week with your spouse or private time with your kids? Is there recording time in your home where you all gather as family? Do you have a habit of eating at the dinner table together most nights? Does the type of habits and what creates a happy family life for you? Perhaps you want more peace in your life, but you don't cultivate the habit of praying, meditating, or going to church. How will you calm your mind if you don't do the things you need to put you in a state of grace? Or if you want to be a great leader but don't actively apply critical principles of leadership in your work or personal life, you will fail in those areas as well. Okay, getting fired up about the living your life in well each day is important, but nowhere near as important as having a good habits. Contrary to what you believe and what you may have been told, the biggest separator in life is not the motivation or inspiration. It is the habits you create to get through those days when you don't really feel like doing the things you need to do to be successful. What do you do when you're not feeling great or when it's not your best day? How do you make progress on your projects and goals at those times? It's rituals and habits. Motivation and inspiration come and go, but rituals and habits are constant. Hmm. Motivation and inspiration come and go, but rituals and habits are constant. Creating positive and effective habits will change your life. Creating positive and effective habits will change your life. The good news is that this can take place with just few simple steps. There is no need to overcomplicate the process. However, before you can learn how to do this, it's crucial to understand how habits are born, why we rely on them so much, and what happens inside of our brain when a habit kicks in. The science of habits. When you understand how habits are created and why your brain uses them to benefit you, learning how to upgrade your habits makes more sense. Life would be so much easier if we live in a relaxed state all day long. Instead, often we live with a varying degree of pressure and stress. This stress can be caused by anything such as paying bills, hitting a pressure shot in a game, if you're a basketball player, having a disagreement with your spouse, or attending an important meeting with your boss or a big client. On the other hand, you view these in normal parts of your life. However, in neurological terms, your brain does not distinguish between these events and treat them as threats. When we perceive these threats, our brain flips a switch, moves out of thinking mode, and goes into reflexive mode. We react and revert to what we know as a form of protection, and what we know are our habits. In biological terms, in response to perceived threat, your hypothalamus activates and promotes your adrenal, adrenal, adrenal glands to release hormones, including adrenaline and cortisol. Adrenaline increases in your brain rate, raises your blood pressure and energy levels. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and when it's activated, it releases glucose into your bloodstream. That triggers several bodily functions, including alarm systems in the region of the brain that control mood, motivation, and fear. And when stress hits and you go into the habit mode, if you don't have the right habits in place, you will sink into depression, despair, and fear. When this repeatedly happens over a long period, it can lead to the chronic anxiety, heart disease, and sleep problems, weight gain, digestive problems, and memory and concentration degradation, among others. By contrast, when you engage in positive habits that result in good outcomes, your body produces dopamine. Dopamine creates a sense of euphoria, and this euphoria dials your bodily systems back and conserve energy, which is what your brain naturally tries to do as much as possible. If your habits involve confidence, passion, resilience, strength, and peace, you will reflexively respond with those emotions when stress hits. Dopamine pathways control the operations of basal ganglia. Basal ganglia are located near the base of the bottom of the brain. The cluster of nuclei has extensive roles in the brain, including involvement in a variety of cognitive, emotional, movement-related functions. Here's how this all ties back to habits. Brains can change and adapt as a result of experience. This is known as brain plasticity and neuroplasticity. Neurons are the building blocks of a brain and the nervous system. Neuroplasticity means they can be wired and develop new pathways and create new connections. When basal ganglia engage in neuroplasticity, this is how new habits are created. Neuroplasticity is what allows you to learn new things, enhance your existing cognitive capabilities, recover from shocks and trauma, traumatic brain injuries, and strengthen some brain functions that you lost or are the decline. Now let's take this science and plug it into how you can develop one more new habit. Trigger, action, prize. As a one more thinker, your goal is to create new habits that focus on releasing dopamine and minimize perceived threats. They release adrenaline and cortisol. Keep in mind, habits are directly related to your emotions that are controlled by your basal ganglia, where emotions emanate. Whether you realize it or not, these habitual emotions don't control you. So when you reframe your emotions, you also reframe your habits. Because the habits make up so much of your life, you can make a tremendous strides in all areas that you want to improve when you adjust your way of thinking and develop positive habits. Creating new habits involves three steps: the trigger, the action, and the prize. Okay. Okay. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Their whims, fancies, and ambitions are thwarted at every step, but their inmost thoughts and desires survive with their own food, being full and or clean. The divinity that shapes our ends, as in ourselves. It is our very self, only himself, miracles man. Thought and actions are the goaler of fate. They imprison, being base. They are also the angels of freedom, they liberate, and being noble. Not what we wish is in praise for does a man get, but what he justly earns. His wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonize with his thoughts and actions. In the light of this truth, what then is the meaning of fighting against circumstances? It means that a man is continually revolting against an effect with a while all the time he is nourishing and perceiving its cause in his heart. That cause may take the form of conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, but whatever it is, it stubbornly retards the efforts of its possessor and thus cause a lot for remedy. Men are anxious to improve their circumstances but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. Men, right. The man who does not shrink from self-crucifixion and never fails to accomplish the object upon which his heart is set. This is true of earthly as in heavenly things. Even the man who is a soil object and to acquire wealth must be prepared to make great personal sacrifices before he can accomplish his object. And how much more so he who would realize a strong and well-poised life. Here is a man who is wretched and poor. He is extremely anxious that his surrounding and home comforts should be improved. Yet all the time he shrinks his work and considers he is justified and trying to deceive his employer. Here is the rich man. Here is an employer. Okay, I have introduced these three cases merely as illustrative of the truth the man is the causer, though nearly always and unconsciously, of his circumstances, and that results aiming at an good end. He is continually frustrating its accomplishment by encouraging thoughts and desires which cannot possibly harmonize with that end. Such cases can be multiplied and varied almost indefinitely, but this is not necessary, as the reader can, if he so resolves and trace an action of loss of thought in his own mind and life. And until this is done, merely external factors cannot serve as a ground of the reasoning. Circumstances, however, are so complicated, thought is so deeply rooted, and their continuous happiness varies so vastly with individuals, and that a man's entire soul condition, although it may be known to himself, cannot be judged by another from the external aspect of his life alone. A man may be honest in certain directions, yet suffer privations. A man may be dishonest in certain directions, yet acquire wealth, and about the conclusion usually formed that the one man fails because of his particular honesty, and that the other prospers because of his particular dishonesty is the result of a superficial judgment, which assumes that this honest man is almost totally corrupt, and the honest man almost entirely virtuous. In the light of deeper knowledge and of wider experience, such judgment is found to be erroneous. The dishonest man may have in some admired virtues which the other does not possess, and the honest man obnoxious vices and which are absent in the other. The honest man reaps in the good results of his honest thoughts and acts. He also brings upon himself the sufferings which he vices produce. The dishonest man likewise garner his own suffering and happiness. It's pleasing to human vanity to believe that one suffers because of the one's virtue, but not until the man is extirpated every sickly, bitter, and impure thought from his mind, and washed every sinful sin from his soul, can be in a position to know and declare that his suffering are results of his good and not of his bad qualities, and on the way to, yet long before he has reached that supreme perfection, he will have found the working in his mind and the life. The great law, which is an absolute just, and which cannot therefore give good for evil, evil for good, possessed of any such knowledge he will then know, looking back upon his past ignorance and the blindness, that his life is and always was justly ordered, and that all his past experiences, in good and bad, were the equitable outworking of his evolving, yet unevolved self. Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results. Suffering is always the effect of a wrong thought in some direction. It is an indication that individual is out of harmony with himself, with the law of his being. The soil and supreme use of suffering is to purify, to burn out all that is useless and impure. Suffering ceases, and for him who is pure, there could be no object in a burning gold. After dross and had been removed, and perfectly pure and enlightened and being could not suffer. The circumstances which a man encounters with the suffering are the result of his own mental inharmony. The circumstances which a man encounters with the blessedness are results of his own mental harmony. Blessedness are not material possessions. It is the measure of right thought. Wretchedness is not lack of material possessions. It is a measure of wrong thought. A man may be cursed and rich. He may be blessed and poor. Blessedness and riches are only joined together when the riches are rightly and wisely used, and the poor man only descends into wretchedness when he regards his lot as a burden unjustly imposed. Indigence and indulgence are two extremes of wretchedness. They are both equally unnatural and the result of a mental disorder. The man is not rightly conditioned until he is a happy, healthy, and prosperous being, and the happiness, health, and prosperity are the results of an harmonious adjustment of the inner with the outer, of the man with his surroundings. A man only begins to be a man when he ceases to whine and reveal and commences the search for hidden justice which regulates in his life. And as he adapts his mind to that, regulating factor, he ceases to accuse others in the cause of his condition, and builds himself up in strong and noble thoughts, ceases to kick against the circumstances, but begins to use them as aids to his more rapid progress, and a means of discovering hidden powers and possibilities within himself. Law, not confusion, is a dominating principle in the universe. Justice, not injustice, is the soul and the substance of life. And the righteousness, and not corruption, is the molding and the moving force in the spiritual government of the world. This being so, man has but in the right himself to find the universe is right. And during the process of putting himself right, he will find that as he alters his thoughts towards things and other people will alter towards him. The proof of this truth is in every person, and it therefore admits an easily investigation of a systemic trends, introspection and self-analysis. Okay, easy investigation. The proof of this truth is every person, and it therefore admits an easy investigation by systemic introspection and self-analysis. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will, astonished at the rapid transformation it will affect the material condition of his life. Many imagine that thought can be kept secret, but it cannot. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and the habit solidifies on the circumstances. Passive thoughts are crystallized into habit of drunkenness and sensuality, which solidify into circumstances of destitution and disease. Impure thoughts in every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. My eye feels tired. Okay, thoughts and fear and doubt and decisions crystallize into weak, unmeaning, and insolid habits, which solidify into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence, and lazy thoughts and crystallizes into habit of uncleanness and dishonesty, which solidify into circumstances of fullness and beggary, hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds of crystallize into habits of self-seeking, which solidify into circumstances more or less distressing. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindness. Oh, yes, here, start here. Okay. On the other hand, beautiful thoughts of all kinds of crystallize into habits of grace and kindness, and which solidify into the general and the sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits and temperance and self-control, which solidifies into circumstances of repose and peace. Thoughts of courage and self-reliance and decision crystallize into many habits which solidify into the circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts and crystallize into habits of cleanness and industry, which solidify into circumstances of pleasantness and gentle and forgiving thoughts and crystallize into habits of gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts and crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. A particular train of thought persisting, be in good or bad, cannot fail to produce its result on the character and the circumstances. A man cannot directly choose his circumstances, but he can choose his thoughts and so indirectly yet surely shape his circumstances. Isn't it beautiful? Hmm. Nature helps every man to gratification of the thoughts in which he most encourages, and opportunities and presented which will most speed bring to the surface both in good and evil thoughts. Let a man cease from his simple thoughts, and all the world will soften towards him, and be ready to help him. Let him put away his weakly and sickly thoughts, and in law opportunities will spring up on every hand and aid his strong resolves. Let him encourage good thoughts, and no hard fate shall bind him down to the wretchedness and shame. The world is your kaleidoscope, and the varying combination of color which is every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your every moving thoughts. Beautiful. Okay.